Third, it's time for the
start.
weekly meeting of the
That's
Mitchell
good.
County Board of Supervisors. We have a short agenda in front of us. Do we have any additions, corrections, deletions?
I don't have any.
No.
Make a motion to approve.
Shannon?
Second it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. I thought I was gonna have to second it for a second.
Sorry, I was confused. I'm down here with the NIACOG. I'm like, what's the NIACOG?
County Attorney General discussion.
Okay, just generally, there's the two lawsuits pending. I talked to Carl on those within the past week. I guess there's three, one of them I can't talk about. The two automobile accident ones, I've talked to Carl on both of those. Just gonna have to work its way through the system. The one, I think, and Carl thinks, and that the emergency doctrine says the county's immune. The other one, we know we're gonna have to pay some money, it's just a question how much. Greg and I had an unemployment hearing, we lost. Judge doesn't understand the law, so we've appealed that. County Conservation's acquiring property from Jordan's and from Peter Heeman, so we're working on that. And I get to spend the rest of the day after I leave here to do a termination of parental rights hearings, which are just my favorite things to do. So, that's what I'm doing with my time.
It's like your plate's full.
It is full. It is full. Any questions?
I have no
No,
questions.
not right at the moment. but-
All right.
Well, thank you, Kenny.
What do we have to sign here, Law?
Just answer those questions and sign the annual for
Okay.
the audit.
All right. All right, thank you.
Okay.
And just get back to me, you don't have to send it.
Okay, I'll just take a look at it right now.
Tom, you're up next. I'm glad to see you here this morning.
Yeah, I was down in Dubuque last week and couldn't make it. Up first, we got a pay request for Hinkle. You guys just copy that, look at. There we go. Lowell, here's the original for your records, of course. Let's flip to, it's always easier if we start on a different page. Go to the third page. And what it'll look like, it'll say, yeah, tabulation sheet like you guys have right there. And the way these are always set up, that makes it easier for you folks to understand, is if we go to the middle column that says work completed this application, that'll give you an idea of what they're claiming work for. I mean, I can describe everything, but if you look across those line items, this is what we call lump sum projects. What we do is we have the contractor break the project out and do pay categories that he feels is appropriate for this type of project. If you look at that sheet, and there's a couple other sheets behind it there, there's quite a number of pay categories, and it's kind of nice to get this much of a breakdown because then you guys can see the progress on certain kind of individual lines. Now, some of these you don't care about. Insurance and bonds, that's not a big deal. But like if you go down to where it says concrete on the first page, you kind of see how they're progressing with the concrete on different sections of the project. So if you didn't or couldn't make it out, which Joel, I'm glad you made out to the progress meeting, this would kind of give you an idea of what's transpired in the last, 30 days or whatever it's been since they asked us before. Then the column right next to it that says stored, it's supposed to say stored materials, you'll see what they're claiming costs for materials that they have purchased. They are sitting on site, and if you flip through the rest of this, you'll see they have an insurance certificate. No, that's not in this one. They gave me the insurance certificate for the materials that they have on site, because the rules require that, if we're going to pay you for stuff you bought, that's not a big deal. but you guys have to have insurance on materials. So they've got, and it's for lift stations, a whole bunch of other stuff. They sent us an insurance certificate for it. So it's cool. That would mean that if something happened to that material, your builder's risk would not be what pays for that. It's their insurance policy that pays for that because they took the effort to buy it and store it on your property. So it's no risk on you guys. There's no reason for you guys to have your insurance policy cover their stored materials. That's all their thing, okay? And you can kind of flip through here and look. So basically, it's all on the first page of what they're claiming there. There's nothing on the next pages. Except for, yeah, pretty much on this first page here. We got some stored material, but they got a lot of piping out there and the lift stations. Some concrete work for all the footings they're working on. And that's about it. And that's all they've got. And I'm really tell you the truth. They've got footings in place, they've got materials on site, and they continue to keep working. I had no problems with this particular submittal. Do you guys have any questions about this particular submittal?
No, we basically wanted them to build it, so we owe them money.
And they are building it.
I make a motion to approve the $387,960.74 for Hinkle Construction.
I will second that.
It's been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, Volkland.
Aye.
Paulus.
Aye.
Walk. Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, quick update. At the pre-treatment plant site, they've got one of the structures, they should have it out of the ground now completely. They've got the foundation on for another structure. They are starting their building footings. We were out there yesterday staking that. The building should arrive, I think by the end of November. So, you know, next month and a half or so, you might see the steel going up for that. Otherwise, they continue working on some of the structures on site. POPs have installed the force main that connects that site to the Osage sanitary sewer system, and they're working on hooking up one of the lift stations so that Valent can use their toilets and everything else in their lab. The goal for that is November 1st. Okay, so it's a couple weeks out. At the Osage wastewater plant, they've got all the footings poured for the oxidation ditch. They will start bringing that, and that's the biggest structure out there. That'll take quite a while to get the rest of that thing up. They got most of their piping in on site, and they're gonna, Osage just started emptying out their sludge storage tank, and there's a lot of modifications that go on in that, so as soon as that's empty, they're gonna jump in and take care of that. That's timed out really well with what the city was planning, so there's no inconvenience for anybody. It worked out real nice. We've got a progress meeting a week from tomorrow. You're all invited again, 9 o'clock over there, 10:30 at the wastewater plant. You got, Joel, you were out there. Do you have any questions about anything that you've
Looks
seen
like
or
they're
heard?
progressing good, and I
Okay.
think they're working right along.
Yeah, I have no issues with the schedule so far. We do have another pending change order, but for whatever reason, it's down again, which is crazy. I don't usually have that many that reduce the price, but that's good.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah. So it's, at least they'll keep the Valent boys happy, because I know they were, you know, a little bent on the amount of money for the project, but this will, it's not much, but it'll help out a little bit. Other than that, it's going very well.
No,
Okay.
from what I saw, everything was full speed ahead.
All right, yeah, I have no other comments on it.
All right, and then we have the 14-day appeal period for River City Egg.
Now, you guys already voted on this 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Unfortunately, the DNR doesn't like preemptive strikes, and they say that you can't vote on the waiver until you actually have the draft permit in your hand. So we're just repeating what you did 3 weeks ago. You know, it's their policy, and I guess we have to abide by it.
Do we have a motion?
That's this resolution.
Yep.
Or, well, I guess I got the resolution here somewhere, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah, right there. It's resolution 891-13, approval of waiver of Mitchell County's right to appeal issuance of final construction permit for the construction of an egg wash water storage structure by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, be it resolved by Mitchell County Board of Supervisors. And basically it gives Yep.
Make a motion to approve resolution 891-13.
Second time.
Been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, Paulus,
Aye.
Hoaglander,
Aye.
Walk, aye, motion carried.
What this kinda does is allow them to go forward, right?
Yep.
We're not waiting.
Yeah, otherwise there's a, if this was a contentious project, say, and you disagreed with the, project all the way around, the DNR issues a draft permit, you have your opportunity to appeal that permit on whatever grounds you guys feel necessary. Now, this is just an egg wash water storage structure. Now, I could see if we were just outside the corporate limits and somebody wanted to dump down 8.5 million birds, there might be a little bit more to do with that project. But again, this is a storage tank, they're not expanding the facility or anything, thank you very much.
You gonna send that to them, or want me to?
No, I'll fax or email, and then plus I'll send a hard copy to them as well. That sounds very good. Well, I appreciate it.
Get a copy of
Yeah,
it?
if I get a copy of that,
Okay,
and you can just email to me later, Will.
okay.
That'd be fine. All right.
Anything else for Tom?
Very good. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, they're all good.
Oh, I like that.
Item 5.
It's his birthday? Well, happy birthday, Stan.
Yeah.
Sing happy birthday for us, would you?
I got a cold, I can't get it out. Good day, Tom.
You gotta hear Stan.
You never heard the whatever that we used to embarrass everybody with
Oh.
when we had the,
No, what's that?
well, when we had the Sportsman's Lounge, Alan and I would, didn't matter how busy we were, we would stop, and if we knew it was somebody's birthday, it actually had to be their birthday. And so then we'd kind of, well, I'll just kind of pick on the sheriff here for a minute, we'd look him in the eye and me, happy birthday, happy birthday.
You started it.
Thank
you. I'll find you later.
Pain and suffering in the air, people dying everywhere. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I bet you we had 100 of those requests a year.
There you go.
People would, it was a good money maker for us.
Greg, next time don't be so quick to grab that chair. See you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Stan, I haven't heard that for a while.
Sheriff Beaver.
Sheriff's fees, I guess, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, total of $2,443.98. I'm always amazed how many people every month go for permits to carry. You'd think that,
It's pretty steady yet.
yeah, I mean, you'd almost think there'd have been that real big and then hardly anything for, but, how many in the Crowbar Hotel this morning?
Well, since I was with you last, we booked in 6, and the last one bought it out yesterday, so we're empty this morning. And 2 out of Minnesota for burglary, drug charges, miscellaneous stuff, so, yeah.
Well, that's good. We don't need bigger stuff.
No, we don't, you're right. What's happening over west can stay over west.
What's happening
With Northwood and.
Oh, yeah.
Their long hot summer.
Yeah, well, we had our episode a
Yeah,
couple
we
years
got
ago.
our share of that.
So anyway, I'd make a motion to approve the sheriff's report for September.
I'll second it.
Been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, vote then.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
What, aye, motion carried. There's that, oh.
About the only other thing I had was a good article in the county magazine about getting information, emergency information out to the public. Maybe you guys have read that, but I'll leave it. I think that, is showing itself now through the lawsuits that we're facing, that it's important to get that stuff out, and some tips on how we can do that, so. Yeah.
Well, didn't we talk about that,
When?
is that what it was?
Yeah, the one call, essentially.
Yeah, that, you know, that we were looking into or something for the county,
Yeah.
where's that? We still looking into it?
Really not too much to look into, it's, put it in my budget and we'll talk about it in January.
Okay.
And,
Well, would that take
Yes.
care of this?
yeah.
I mean, then there would be no question as to, you know, did you do the right thing or?
Right. You can push that
Contact the right
information.
people? Yeah.
Yep, you can push it to the cell phones, text message, voice message.
And I think it's
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah, so I thought we'd budget for it and talk about it in January and see what you guys think. I think it's pretty important. And we are looking at maybe funding it through grants, which would be a good stroke too, if we got that done.
It's called what?
When?
WENS.
WENS?
Yeah.
W-E-N-S?
WENS, yeah, it's an emergency notification system.
Yeah, I think we have to do a much better job than, I mean, even with these floods, at some point in time, we're gonna have the big snowstorms again that are gonna paralyze us for 2, 3, 4 days and,
Well, with the technology we've got, and everybody carries a cell phone.
Yeah.
I mean, why
It's
not use
crucial.
that,
That's right,
you know?
that's right. I talked to Farm Bureau with a couple of their meetings, and they wonder where it's at.
well, Richie,
It's
why
a
don't you
great
come up
idea.
to, because you're gonna be involved in this too, if we, you know, because it always affects secondary roads, whatever.
And that's what the Eco email alert this week, they had a county that has Twitter
Mhm.
account, and they send it out on that as well, so you can push it through that too.
A lot of capabilities, you know, to get mass emails out and mass notifications. And not just in weather-related stuff, but any type of emergency, or anything that would be important that the residents know and put out on that. So I think it is money well spent to get that point.
Your thoughts, Richard?
I think it's a good idea. I know that Work County now is trying to do things on the internet with their, either their Facebook site or their webpage, but I don't know where they're at with any,
They do have one.
they do.
They do have,
I don't know
yeah,
if they,
have had for a couple of years.
right, and I haven't signed up for it, but, I will.
The thing with Facebook pages, it's a great tool, and we should use that too, but people have to go to that.
Right. Like, I know the school system has one call and they aren't afraid to use it.
Yeah.
They do it for they do it for about everything.
Yeah. So, we'll look at it. I don't have anything else, unless somebody here does for me.
I don't know.
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the
Thank you,
meeting.
kindly. Let me know when your birthday is.
Yeah.
Just Milo.
Keep that a secret. Just have a good day.
You too.
Okay, county engineer, we might as well go right into it.
A lot going on.
Looks like it.
What you learned last week down at,
Well, it was a lot of formality that day that I went. I mean, they had gone through the day before and all the RISE things had already been submitted, all the questions had been asked. The day I went was more of a thanks for doing what you do kind of thing, and they did do their presentations there for the public to see what was going on. They had a little slide presentation and then telling what their projects were and why they needed the funding and why they thought it was a good idea, so. I mean, it was interesting, but it seemed to me like a lot of the meat and potatoes of the meeting was the day before when it wasn't public. It was all the commission sitting down with the people who wanted the funding, so.
what, were you able to make some contacts?
I did talk
and
to a
that?
couple of them and they did bring up a few things and I kind of hinted around to some things that could be coming up, but nothing solid, so. They were aware of the one issue, so, the one item that I brought up, but, at any rate, it was interesting, it just, all the meat and potatoes of everything was the day before, when they determine whether or not they are gonna fund a project with RISE money, or they're gonna do anything else with other funding, so. But yeah, they had different communities and different, highway commissions. The Highway 30 Commission, you know, their goal is to get, or 20 and 30 and 61, they want all their extensions and their bypasses around towns. They're updating the commission on where they're at with their projects, and that's what a lot of it is. So, couple things, FEMA is coming back today again, and this time they've got more people, because they've been told they wanted, the higher ups at FEMA want their people out of here by November 7th, I think. And I don't know how that's gonna happen with how slow things have been going. But at any rate, they've got a few more people here to help out, which I think will speed things up a little bit. We looked at, again, with FEMA, a couple different projects. They wanted to go, every time they bring people in, they wanna go look at those two bridges. And then we looked at Line Kiln, a bunch of other things, so they look at it again and ask for some different information again. We bid out, we sent out quotes to do our bridge work and nobody responded. So we're gonna have to do them ourselves. And I think we're gonna try to start this week, weather dependent.
Why do you think that was? I mean,
Well, I think because they're all busy, number one. Number two, I kind of put a tight schedule on it because I wanted them done as soon as we can get them done.
What is it we wanna do? The approaches?
No, this is for those
The bridges.
bridges that are closed, we wanna get them back open.
Oh,
The
I wanted,
smaller ones, yeah.
I gave them a late start date of October 25th.
That's where we got the railroad cars.
Yeah.
Alright.
I gave them October 25th as a late start date with completion 2 weeks later, which they could do, but that, they've gotta try to fit it in a schedule, and was a tight schedule, I understand that, but I wanted them done 3 months ago, and I've been waiting for FEMA and everything else, so we're gonna try to start on them maybe this week for sure. By next week, we'll start on the PV grain elevator, or the PV road, March Avenue. We'll start on that one first, then we'll head over to the one on 450th, and then from there we'll do our corrugated, or our multi-plate arch pipe on Primrose.
Get the rail cars yet?
They're all spoken for, so
Oh,
yeah,
I-
I mean,
they're not here.
they're not here. I'm not gonna deliver them until we're at the site, that
Oh.
way we don't have to handle them more than
Right.
once. So, I tried contacting the bike trail in McIntyre. The number I got didn't go through, so I don't know if I'll try to keep calling that number again.
Tony's cell phone number.
Pardon?
I have Tony's cell phone number and I called him and gave him your office number.
Yeah, and he left a message, or he left a phone message, and the day he wanted me to call him back at 1, I was at a meeting, so I couldn't get back to him at 1, and then I tried it at a different time, and all I got was kind of a busy signal. Is this the same number you have?
No, it's a 220.
We sent out quotes for that asphalt patching stuff that we were gonna do. Heartland, thank you. Heartland came in and, one number off, no wonder.
That's different.
Heartland came in and they got the low quote, and then they went and looked at some of the work and offered up some different suggestions as to how to do things. And, their suggestions lowered the amount of asphalt we were probably gonna need to use. But after they evaluated that, they thought their price wasn't high enough, so they wanted to adjust our price. And I'm like, I gotta talk to them yet, but I don't think I'm gonna buy that, where, we'll save 100 ton in asphalt, but only save $1,000 in the project. That's not the way I'm gonna fly, it's not gonna fly. You know, you can either do it the way we wanted you to do it, or we can, you know, you wanted to save, we call it value engineering. Let's, you know, if something looks different, we can save money. Value engineering is, let's split the savings. You get some, we get some. That's not what they're doing, so we'll have that discussion here. Something brought up, I didn't meet with you guys last week, but shortly after our meeting, or later that week, Floyd County engineer called, and there's a resident on the county line who has a field access, which is essentially a small little concrete bridge deck. And he wants to widen his driveway because of the equipment. And Floyd County evaluated it and looks like, the deck panels themselves are no good anymore. He doesn't have deck panels to widen what's there, and we don't have deck panels long enough to help him. But he's asking, because of our 2080 agreement, that we share in the cost of widening this driveway. He's proposing a twin, I think it's a twin 8 foot by 5 foot twin box culvert. He's thinking the total project cost is around $40,000. I think the owner would participate in half of that, and then we would get 25%, so he's looking at $10,000 from us to participate in that. Now, the 2080 agreement is written in, it's tough, because maintenance on rock resurfacing is done by the county that's in charge of the road. They say major maintenance projects costs shall be borne equally 50-50 by two counties, and they should be mutually agreed upon before the start of work. Well, what's major maintenance? And does a field driveway fit into major maintenance? I suppose it would, but kind of $40,000 driveway is pretty good. I guess in my mind, reading 2080 agreement, I guess that was the fine line, is what's major and what's minor as far as maintenance goes. Because we could do a lot of projects on county lines and call it major maintenance, and
I think major maintenance, wouldn't that be something that improves the road for the general public?
it includes right of way though.
Well, there is a driveway there, isn't there?
Yep.
Get smaller equipment.
But at any rate, I mean,
Well, who else are you gonna do this for?
pardon?
Who else are we gonna have to do this for then?
Well, and that's the thing, this is a county line, this is,
Well, the one thing, though, if he's putting up half the money,
right, we're not paying the full cost, we're paying a portion of it, from what I understand.
I mean, you aren't gonna have every Tom, Dick, and Harry demanding to have something.
Well, and
done.
the issue with this driveway is it's his only access, there's kind of a drainage ditch that runs along in there. Pardon?
Whereabouts is it?
It's a mile and a quarter east of Underwood. I think. Yeah. It's right in here, where this ditch, right here where this ditch crosses, or the waterway crosses in the ditch. And that's his only access point, there's no other access point where there's water, so I mean, it's kind of a thing there. So I kind of feel we're on the hook for this, even though I don't like having to pay that kind of money. There's not enough, I mean,
Well, it's a natural waterway too, isn't it?
well, it's a drainage way, yeah.
Drainage way.
And there's not enough height there to do our rail cars, or you'd have too many multiple pipe in the ditch to make it function the right way. So the only other option is to do the box culvert. So I kind of think we're gonna be on the hook for this, I just needed to bring it up to you guys and let you know what's happening.
Okay.
Unless you guys wanna review the 2080 agreements and find a different definition, but I think that we're on the hook, so.
And not that much.
Well, it might not, that was just, we did hear back from the Army Corps.
Yeah, we saw you, and as my husband came down the road to talk to you, you took off.
Oh, I didn't even try to stop or anything, I didn't know who it was, so we just
Well,
kept
he
driving.
figured he thought maybe you knew him, but he said,
I
yeah, they
didn't.
just took off, and went down to Olson's, turned around, come by me about 50 miles an hour.
Oh, I wasn't driving 50 miles an hour.
He was a little upset though.
No, we weren't driving.
I saw you though, and I called him quick, 'cause I was on my way out of town.
I need to get FEMA some information, because they're bucking me on the other side, on your side, they're bucking me with trying to reestablish that bank. And they said, well, that's private property there. I said, well, we've got some right of way in there, and he says, well, we don't pay for working on private property. I said, well, how am I gonna backfill my wall if I can't backfill on private property. So, while, the Army Corps is fine with the project, I gotta look through all the paperwork again to make sure that it's fully understood before we do it. And they're now on furlough,
I know, it just,
so nothing ever is gonna be simple with any of this, but I'm gonna start putting a project together and hope we can get somebody with some big equipment to work on it, because we don't have the equipment to do it. But I also gotta work with FEMA on trying to figure out a way to make the channel clean out work. And they're fully understanding, and the Army Corps is fully understanding of what we're trying to do there, and they're okay with what we're trying to do. It's trying to get FEMA on board and saying, how do I reestablish a channel if I can't backfill it? And so, that's where we're at least we've got
Alright.
the information back, so. But yeah, now they're on furlough, so.
you said I got a letter coming though?
Well, they should have carbon copied you with the information that I received as well. At least I think I saw your name on the letter that you were gonna be.
I'll watch my mail here special now.
I don't know what they all sent you. I was pretty sure I saw your name on that you were CC'd in on a letter. But now I don't know where. Maybe you won't, I was pretty sure I saw your, but we did get the information, so. We are gonna be working on those projects now with the winter coming. We're gonna probably start looking at, we got a lot of the guardrails weed whacked, so we got some, get rid of our natural snow fence and some of that stuff, so. We're still progressing on, any culvert work that we're doing, but we're gonna pull the excavator off some of that, and get these bridges going, so. I know we got some moisture, the guys will be out blading, and we'll start getting better conditions.
Take a look for next summer up there at Absolute Energy between their driveway and 218. Apparently, all of the heavy semi must be starting to crack the road a little. And if we're doing the fill like we did here, you know, on the Mitchell Road, maybe that'd be.
Okay.
So hopefully that doesn't deteriorate. It isn't that long a stretch, you know, it's what, probably 1/8 of a mile, 3/8 of a quarter.
Yeah. And then I see on the parsnip eradication.
Yeah, you haven't got enough to do, we thought we'd throw that in on you.
Well,
I
tell me a
sent it to
little
the weed
bit,
commissioner.
what's that?
I sent the information to the weed commissioner.
Because I would think that our roadway spraying would, unless we're not using those.
Apparently in the summertime, it's not effective. It's effective at this point in time right now. I mean, and this must be a weed that, if you get into it,
Well, I've read on it a little bit that you get the oil in your skin and it's makes your skin really sensitive to the sun.
Mhm.
That's where the blistering comes in.
And it can last for, what did they say, months?
And it's what was brought over here 100 years ago. From what I read on the history of it, it was.
well, and somebody was concerned that it's starting to be more prevalent in the county. So maybe if our secondary road workers can identify those areas, if we have any,
I'm sure there's some.
Well, they're
if they
gonna
can
take
identify it, then we
measure.
could get it to the weed commissioner, and hopefully then, like you say, at this point in time, that it could, and somebody should read up on the spraying, and, I mean.
What I read on it was, if you can get it in its early stages and keep mowing it, I don't know if it'll eventually not grow, but you don't wanna let it go to seed and probably just let it business.
You can be careful when you're mowing it, because when
Well-
you mow it and spray back on it.
Get the oil and stuff on it, and it's not good.
It is a biannual, so you're gonna have to stay with it for 2 years.
Right. Some of I think I read on that some of it can develop biannually and some of it can be just annually, but I don't know if I was reading if it was the parsnip or the hogweed or whatever that was,
Yeah, I'm sure that's where that comes in, but
Yeah, it was
the
a,
real invasive one is a biannual perennial,
Okay.
not an annual.
so,
Anybody else have anything for Richard?
Well, that looks good. For now.
well, and with this Heartland thing, I'm gonna talk to them if they're not gonna, you know, everybody else quote, and I told them to quote how we had it, and then we could discuss after the quote if there's any change. But they quoted $125 a ton, and now they want $175 a ton because of 100 less ton, and I'm like, well, that means I'm not getting, I mean, I'm paying $1,000 less than you quoted, but I'm not getting 90 tons worth of product.
Right.
Well, how does that make any sense? So, I'm gonna try, maybe there's something in Walnut we can kind of give a thin layer to, or we'll, a lot of it is on lime kiln, where they tried to figure out a different way to patch it, and that's probably where the tonnage went down. I thought, well, we'll just stick with what we have, and we can just do it that way. It's not gonna hurt to put more down. What we had was okay, they were trying to figure out a different way to use less material. But I don't, you know,
Looks fishy to me.
well, and that's just right, I mean, we quoted the work, and now you want
Yeah.
almost the same money for less work.
So I'll look at the first quote and get that much product.
Pardon?
Get all the product and
Well, that's kinda where I'm at. I'm like,
$1,000
well,
to
if
get
I'm
more
only gonna
product.
save $1,000 by getting less tonnage, I might as well just keep with the original work and get what I'm paying for,
right.
so. All right,
Do us good.
do what we can.
Stop by the break room.
What's that?
Stop by the break room.
I don't know if I can eat goodies.
Minutes. I read them, no problem.
Good.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Moved in second, further discussion. Volklander.
Aye.
Hollis.
Aye.
Locke. Aye. Motion carried. Auditors quarterly report for revenue. Flat
Not a
books.
lot.
Flat books were the big one.
And township bonds. Transfer fees and passports are in the recorder's report.
Make a motion to approve the auditor's report.
One second.
Been moved in second, further discussion. Hearing none. Paulus.
Aye.
Volklander. Locke. Aye. Motion carried. Recorder's quarterly report. Down a little bit, but can't help that.
Motion to approve the recorder's report.
I'll second it.
Been moved in second, further discussion. Hearing none, Volklander.
Aye.
Paulus.
Aye.
Locke. Aye. Motion carried. Approve placing $469.50 in the land acquisition and capital improvement fund for cans for conservation.
I'll make a motion to approve placing the $469.50.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion. Hearing none, Paulus.
Aye.
Volklander.
Aye.
Locke. Aye. Motion carried. Meetings attended.
I went to the contractor meetings at Hinkle and Waukesha at the wastewater treatment plant. They were good. The one at Hinkle lasted probably an hour. I mean, they talked about, you know, we're having this problem, can we change this, and, you know, interesting. They did get the colors changed on
I was
our
gonna ask him.
building out there. They'll have green, I think it's, I don't know if it's gonna be a green roof or what, but it'll more it'll match what BBC has. And the wastewater treatment plant went out there, oh man, you should see the hole they had to dig for the clarifier, and it was solid rock. I mean, they almost thought they would like to shoot it, you know, dynamite. The guy didn't want to just because of the other structures there. He didn't, you know, want to crack something like that. So, that's interesting. That was nice.
I attended the tax rollback training with the auditor Wednesday at Des Moines. That was really interesting. The assessor's office is having a great time because they haven't written the rules and they've changed the information that they're supposed to submit to do the figuring. They're on their third time. So I talked to Amy and she said it's a little frustrating, but hopefully they'll get it figured out because they have a deadline of January 15th to have the entities apply for it and then turn it into the state where they're gonna do a formula with the data and then send it back to the auditor. They're gonna do all the figuring of the tax rollbacks. For the whole,
What?
of the rollbacks, the 5% rollback. The state will do it because it's a $95 million cap statewide. So all the assessors have to send it to the state Department of Revenue in one structured format. So they're all apples to apples. And then they'll do it in their system and then they'll send it back to the auditor for tax time. It sounds good on paper.
If it comes in a check,
No, we don't get any extra money. They'll pay
well, they're
back.
backfilling something.
They are backfilling the 5%. And then the 10%, and then the third year they don't backfill at all.
The cap's at 125 million.
Right, for the second year. It's very interesting.
It'd be more interesting come budget time.
That's gonna be the problem.
Figure out how to do that. And then that's not, they also said there's gonna be probably a 3 limit to a unit, so you might have a lot of splits coming for people taking advantage of.
There's, yeah, multiple things going on in one building.
Yeah. And LLCs, a lot of LLCs started, so if somebody owns like 6 properties that are joining, they can split them into 2 threes, so they can get 2 credits instead of.
Say this again?
The limit on a unit is 3 properties adjoining.
Okay.
They
So
have
if
to
you
be
got an
adjoining?
apartment house here and you got 3 units here, that's the limit.
Right. But if you have them down the street, you have 3 units and they're all under Lowell Tesh, there might be a Lowell Tesh and a Lowell Tesh LLC. Now
They
you'd
can
be 2
change.
different units.
And we talked about contiguous.
Yeah. So you might have a lot of splits coming through, people taking advantage of the 3 limit to make LLCs. And maybe,
Wonderful state.
we'll see.
Anything else?
What for the, our OSHA training and sexual
Yeah,
harassment.
that's right. We did that
Yeah,
yesterday.
do that.
I had county conservation last Tuesday night. They're looking at 3 different parcels of land that, right now are in play, and, I think they're making some progress on that.
Can I ask you what they do with this land?
Sometimes they basically do nothing with it.
They conserve it.
Yeah, okay, but I understand that, but what's the plan for the land?
Basically, quite often, I believe it's open spaces that, like the piece south of McIntyre, I mean, there's some fens on it, there's some endangered species that, again, everybody isn't going to want to go out and look at it, but there are those that, they live for these things. And,
It also takes land out of the tax rolls.
but it's marginal land that pays very little to begin with. I mean, they're not buying the $12,000 an acre.
No, but it's just, still, it's that much less money coming back to the county.
Well,
And with that land, you'd probably only pay, what, $3-4 an acre?
I don't know.
You know, I don't
and, I
think
mean,
it's
we could
assessed
go the
as much.
same way. Well, let's get rid of the city parks because we could always put a house up there. and-
But what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
Stan, is I'd like to go hunting. But if there ain't nothing there to hunt, I ain't going, you know?
Well, no, but
And I wish the conservation would see their way clear to stocks and pheasants and all this land they got.
well, you know, when I was on the conservation board, back in, we talked about that in Worth County, and, you know, the DNR basically, they encourage directors in that not to do that type of stuff. And the same with feeding stations. They feel feeding stations is more of a hindrance than a help for like pheasants and that.
Why is that?
Part of it is that if you're a fox and that, kind of learn that there's,
Oh, I got you.
You're baiting them.
yeah, that there's easy prey then, and
Coyotes too.
so, yeah, I mean, it,
But then now they must evidently allow you to put mineral blocks out for deer.
Not during hunting,
Wow, so what? You take it out 2 weeks,
Still looking for it.
so here they come looking for it?
oh, I know, yeah, but,
You know, I mean, when I can remember way back when I actually did deer hunting, I mean, that was illegal. I mean, you couldn't put salt
Right.
licks out, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't bait anything. Now it seems like, well, we can bait some things and we can't bait this, but
Can we encourage feed plots for citizens can the conservation help with that?
well, they do, I mean,
They do?
conservation land, I forget how many food plots are planted. And in the spring of the year, why, the farmer that plants them either gets all of whatever crop is left, or half of it, or, yeah, there's some arrangements made on that type of thing, on food plots.
well, landfill out there, I mean, we're putting 6 acres into a pollinator. I mean, it's just, it's highly erodible and it's just gonna be
I know.
flowers.
Eric plants a feedlot on his private property out by New Haven, and then they were talking about doing it in the slough, just to make that, it's just,
But I don't know if you'll ever bring back the pheasants like they were, but
Well, I still feel too, maybe I'm wrong, but I still feel that the food is the more valuable, and, you know, years ago, when you had your cattle outside, you know, your pheasants would be in the cattle yard,
Oh, yeah.
and the corn that didn't really get quite run through properly, I mean, you know,
easier to chew.
right?
yeah, it was nice and warm, and
Steam.
just came
so
out
to
of the
speak.
oven.
You're right, I mean, it's a different way of doing things now, I guess, but they're just, you know, conservation, I see keeps buying all this land and this land, and, I mean, basically all you can probably hunt on it is squirrels, you know, and
Well, and like I say, some of it isn't necessarily for hunting as much as,
just go out there and be there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
And I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. You know,
well,
some
and
of
I've, you know, I've mentioned this before, that outside of using our road system, there really isn't one activity in the county where the majority of people participate. I mean, I don't care if it's a high school sport, the minority of people will attend, or, so, yeah, I mean, if there's those type of people that really enjoy the, well, she's the president this year, Emmy Kuntz. I mean, she could take you out there and identify every plant and tell you, when it's gonna flower, when it's gonna this and that. I mean, you know, there are people like that live for that stuff.
Bird watch.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Guess we're gonna buy some more land. Taking you out bird watching, Walt.
yeah, you can actually hit a few balls out there and see if you can find them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck with that.
Now, in the conservation, I have golf courses, maybe we should buy a couple of them. Yeah.
That'd take a lot of money. Curious, how did the rendezvous, what was their update on that?
Rendezvous apparently was down this year, of course, they had rain on Saturday. And the one Indian group must not have been nearly as good this past year as it was the year before, they said.
They also picked the same week as Fort Atkinson. You would think they'd coordinate that better, so you don't have two of them going on in the same part of the state at the same time. Then word in the street is three of the key people chose to be somewhere else that day.
No, they were there.
I thought they were at another meeting.
Sunday, two of the three were there. I saw
No, they
them.
weren't there Saturday though.
Because we were out there Sunday and I talked to two of them. But there weren't, the Indian group was very small. The swap meet was huge. That was, tons of people at the swap meet.
They couldn't do anything about the Indian because they had an infight, and so they split apart because there's some Indian issue with that group. And so the four original Native Americans came to this, but the rest of them are somewhere else now. So it had nothing to do with the organizers of the event for that occurring like that. They didn't realize that was the case until they got there, and they couldn't do anything about it. So just so you know about the Indian situation, the Native American situation had nothing to do with conservation scheduling it. Yeah, it was some other issues, internal tribal issues. Just a side FYI for you to know why that was that way. Yeah.
Adam and I on Wednesday attended the REAP conference or whatever at Ventura. And this next year will be 25 years of REAP. Basically, in the 24 years, Mitchell County has received a few dollars short of $1,300,000. And so it's been a good program. Again, part of the land acquisition and that is being funded by REAP. And so, like I say, that they've been doing some work. I think we'll be trying to put together an application. I want to talk to Jessica Carson on trying to get some REAP money for the Mitchell Park. And I got a couple ideas on that. And so, in any event, the goal this next year is trying to get 25 million from the legislature for 25 years. And like I say, it really does a good program for all of the counties. So that was the Wednesday meeting. And then yesterday I had NICOG. And basically, we settled, I think I mentioned it to you before, we settled on that Picker lawsuit where the gal unbuckled her seatbelt coming back from Iowa City, and then we got run over, or pushed over by a fifth-wheel vehicle. The thing tipped over and that, and ended up settling for $29,000. Again, the insurance companies basically dictate, we could have had our own attorney, but if we were to save money, we would never get the savings, but if it goes over $29,000, then we pay the additional. There's no incentive to try to, and of course, insurance companies, and I don't know why so many people believe insurance is free. Because it's not. I mean, it's always, we'll just turn it into the insurance company. I mean, somebody has to pay the premium, and that's exactly what, and we have enough work that we actually voted to hire a full-time one-year intern that very well might turn into a permanent full-time position. And because we were actually turning down additional revenue and not being able to work on some projects just because we didn't have enough staff to.
Didn't somebody over there retire or something, or left?
Had a couple people leave.
That's what I was thinking.
We had our planner, our disaster planner, what's his name?
Yeah.
Schroeder.
Shorter.
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah, he,
Matt O'Brien just got hired for that.
pardon?
Matt O'Brien just got hired for that.
And our accountant, her husband, I think was principal at Hampton School, and she was tired of just driving the 30 miles back and forth every day and so on and so forth. And so then Who's the supervisor from Saragordo that drives UPS? Like
Erdahl.
Erdahl, I don't know. So Jay Erdahl's wife now is,
That's right.
and so I think Jay also has to be off of the T21 board. If that is the case tomorrow, then I'm chair of the T21,
There you go.
so. And I think you got a meeting tomorrow with, yeah, down at Mason City.
Yep, emergency planning and then that's for her or something like that.
Yeah, your one meeting should get over when we start our T21. If you want to sit in on T21 once, wouldn't hurt. So those are my meetings. Clerk of Court report for September, we got that in front of us. Total of $2,628.75.
You need a motion to approve that?
No.
Basically just noted. And I thought training yesterday was good on Heartland.
I just like the OSHA training.
The who?
The OSHA training, did you like the
The
OSHA
second
training?
one. About the MSDS's.
I guess it'd have to relate to a certain person, and we won't get into a lot of chemicals, you know, here. But I guess it was, and overall, I guess it was worthy information, but Chuck, he
It was
gets,
too long.
yeah, he gets going, and he's a good speaker, but.
Knows what he's talking about.
Right, but sometimes I think he trails off, you know, then he has to bring himself back, but. Anyway, no, I thought it was good.
Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, we will stand adjourned at 9:28.